Hi, my name is Lucie, and in this documentary I will be discussing the welfare of zoo animals and their behaviour at Camperdown Zoo, specifically looking at the slender-tailed meerkats.
As the bears, I'm gonna tell her to name it that.
Cute. Cute. He's having a bath time. It's much less than you do in bath time.
Oh, he's like stuck it to his claw.
What is a zoo? A zoo is a place where animals live in captivity and are put on display for people to view. Zoos contain a variety of wild animals that are native to all parts of the earth. Though people have kept wild animals for thousands of years, those collections have not always resembled modern zoos. The first zoos were created as a part of a private collections by the wealthy to show off their power. These private collections were called Mesopotamia. The Animal Health and Welfare Act 2006 places the responsibility of cares of owners responsible for animals to make sure that the welfare needs are met. This includes mammals, birds, reptiles and fish. Under the Zoo Licensing Act 1981, zoos require a licence and must be managed in accordance with the standards of modern zoo practice, which include details of how to keep and care for the animals. Zoos licensed under the Zoo Licensing Act 1981 will be inspected regularly. There are two types of inspections. The first type is called periodic inspections. These take place when a licence is in existence. An inspection for a new licence takes place once during the first year and again at the end of the fourth year. For a renewed licence, an inspection is carried out once in its third year and then again at the end of its sixth year. 3 inspectors will carry out the inspection, one of them being a vet. The second type of inspection is called a special inspection. This may be undertaken by the local authority if it considers it necessary to do so because of the feedback from the periodical report, or if the zoo has been flagged up for any negative reason. The inspection will be carried out by a person authorised by the local authority to do so. If it relates to the health of the animals, there must be a vet with experience of the animals kept in the zoos present. Officially known as the Report of Technical Committee to Inquire into the Welfare of Animals Kept Under Intensive Livestock Husbandry Systems. It was commissioned partly in response to the concerns in Ruth Harrison's 1964 book Animal Machines to investigate the welfare of intensely farmed animals. The Bramble Report, as it's now known, said animals should have the freedom to stand up, lie down, turn around, groom themselves and stretch their limbs. These are still known as the Bramble's 5 freedoms. This concept was developed by the Farm Animal Welfare Council and became known as the 5 freedoms to help define the physical and mental welfare needs of animals. The 5 freedoms include freedom from hunger and thirst by ready access to fresh water and a diet to maintain full good health. Freedom from discomfort by providing an appropriate environment including shelter and a comfortable resting area. Freedom from pain, injury or disease by prevention of rapid diagnosis and treatment. Freedom to express normal behaviour by providing sufficient space, proper facilities and company of the animal's own kind. And finally, freedom from fear and distress by ensuring conditions and treatments which avoid mental suffering. Although originally designed for farm animals, the 5 freedoms have been adapted for companion and working animals and since 1965 have been used in international organisations. For animal health, the RSPCA and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Over the years, other welfare frameworks continue to be developed, but the 5 freedoms persist and still provide a simple framework for all to ensure staff, whenever they're working, understand them and work towards ensuring all the animals they work with have these freedoms. Today's zoos all around the world can be a member of many organisations. And lastly, we have WAZA, the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums. the Global Alliance on Zoos and Aquariums, dedicated to the care and conservation of animals and their habitats around the world. Next we have BIAZA, the British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums. BIAZA is the professional body representing the best zoos and aquariums in the UK and Ireland. They have more than 100 zoo and aquarium members whom they support in their commitment to be at the forefront of conservation, education and research. These days, modern zoos and aquariums are much more than places where the public can go to view a range of different animals. Whilst providing a safe and fun-filled family day out is important, something BIAZA members are understandably proud of is displaying the BIAZA logos in zoos and aquariums. They are demonstrating their dedication to conserving the natural world through research and conservation programmes and to educate and inspire their visitors to do the same. Today's zoos all around the world can be a member of many organisations. Firstly, let's explore EAZA, the European Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Formed in 1992, EAZA works to simplify cooperation within the European and Western Asian zoo and aquarium community towards the goals of education, research and conservation. EAZA is the membership organisation that sets the standards for progressive zoos and aquariums and other partners across Europe, Western Asia and beyond. They strive continuously to define and demonstrate excellent and integrity species conservation through a transparent and collaborative approach to population management, wild animal care and welfare. By ensuring that their members within zoos and aquariums can achieve and maintain the highest standards of care and welfare for the species they keep, EAZA empowers European citizens to learn about and contribute to the global biodiversity conservation goals. It is estimated that more than 140 million people visit EAZA members each year, equivalent to approximately 1 in 5 European citizens. Zookeepers have a variety of different daily tasks which can change day to day. Zookeepers' husbandry roles can include cleaning the animals' enclosures, prepping food and feeding the animals, and making enrichment projects and training the animals. Keepers also play a massive role in educating the public about the species at their zoo, the endangered list animals and conservation of these animals and how the public can help. Alongside these tasks, the keepers will also do daily observations and keep records of the animals' behaviours. There are a few platforms which zoos can use to record these animals' behaviours. These include ZIMS, Species 360 Zoological Information Medical Software. ZIMS is a collective database where information on statistics such as height, weight and daily observations, breeding success and medical records are kept. All of this information can be accessed across different zoos and aquariums and through vets. EEPs, European Endangered Species Programmes. The EEPs is the most intense population management system used within the European zoos and aquariums. Each species is managed by EEPs, has a coordinator and a species committee who are responsible for collecting data on their designed species across Europe and producing a stud book to analyse their genetics and decide the future management of the animal. ESBs, European Stud Books. This platform is produced by EAZA and is a slightly less intensive method of population management. In the stud book, a record of births, deaths and transfers are kept, and the data is analysed to see if the animal species are doing well. What is animal welfare standards? A standard is a level of quality or accomplishment to be achieved. It is used to measure or model in comparative evaluations. A good animal collective will be held accountable against several different standards, which can be internationally, nationally, regionally and or institutionally created. Wild Welfare's Animal Welfare Enclosure Assessment is a tool designed to gather information about a particular animal's enclosure and identify animal welfare gaps and opportunities, to provide conditions that are likely to facilitate positive welfare states in the animals. The enclosure assessment allows for regular monitoring and aims to identify developmental and capacity and animal welfare knowledge by staff. It can also provide guidance on specific species improvements. This short assessment incorporates 5 sections, and this is based around the 5-domain model of the Animal Welfare Compromise. These are physical health, mental health, social life, enclosure space, and environmental enrichment. Welfare sheets are used as an indicator of both good and poor standards in zoos. The sheet looks at the key points discussed previously and shows the keepers where improvements can be made. Examples of this could be welfare sheets indicating that a species of animal isn't very productive or displaying normal wild behaviour, and that enrichment could be added into their enclosure to help stimulate the animal mentally and physically. During my time at Camperdown Zoo, I had the chance to record my own welfare sheets each week. I would look at the 5 main areas and write down what I could see. Over the course of 10 weeks, I was able to oversee good welfare with the meerkat's environment, such as the meerkats showed natural behaviours, that they had enough space within their enclosure for all 14 meerkats to roam and explore freely. They had access to both food and water throughout the day, and I got to observe veterinary care as one of the meerkats became poorly. The zoo took the correct steps, working alongside the vet, and monitored Green Bum daily. I was able to update this on my welfare sheet week to week. As well as observing positive welfare standards at the zoo, there was one week where I recorded poor standards due to the meerkats not having a second shelter outside when a large tarp was taken down. This could be classed as poor welfare standards, as it is one more area within their enclosure exposed to birds such as buzzards flying above, which could cause the meerkats to become frightened. In the wild, meerkats eat a variety of meat, including insects such as mealworms, crickets, larvae, beetles, spiders, millipedes, and scorpions. They also eat small mammals or rodents such as mice or shrew, small birds' eggs, and small reptiles such as snakes. For the meerkats, the stability of food is not a worry. They forage all year round in the same habitat, with the weather mostly staying the same all year with the occasional rain. With them not migrating and staying in one territory all their lives, this combined with their diet means there's always food nearby to catch and share amongst the mob. Meerkats forage for their food by scavenging their territory for any insects nearby, using their front claws to dig the ground and catch any insects. One meerkat will always be on lookout for any potential danger while the rest of the mob scavenge and eat. When catching a bigger source of food, like a snake, the meerkats will work together using a method called mobbing, meaning they huddle close together with their tails in the air to look bigger and to distract the snake's focus, then taking it in turns poking and biting the snake. While in captivity, the meerkats are primarily insectivorous, getting mealworms and locusts, but also getting fruit and vegetables as well as mice daily, making them omnivorous. At Camperdown Zoo, the meerkats get bulk fed fruit and veg and mice inside their shelter in the morning. This is so that everyone in the mob gets a piece of everything. The meerkats are then fed again in the afternoon, getting a scatter feed of mealworms and other various insects. This strategy is to help promote natural behaviours, as in the wild, the meerkats would have to work for their food, scavenging and digging for their insects in the sand. In terms of replicating the wild feeding behaviours, Camperdown Zoo keeps the meerkats' diets as close as nutritionally as they can get with the different sources of food, from meat to veg, but also with their different feeding strategies while presenting their food. Meerkats spend all day foraging in the wild, but this is not replicated in their diets in captivity to prevent overfeeding. Carnivores, such as the jaguar, live in the dense part of rainforests in South America. These creatures live a solitary lifestyle, roaming miles and miles of the woodland around them. Jaguars are opportunistic hunters who stalk and ambush their prey at night instead of chasing prey like cheetahs and lions do, and can prey upon almost anything they come across. For example, capybaras, deer, tortoises, iguanas, armadillos, fish, birds, and monkeys. When living in captivity, the size of their enclosure can have a massive impact on the animal, as they cover a lot of ground when they're in the wild, and it can become very overwhelming not having the same space. This can lead to several stereotypical behaviours such as stress, frustration, and boredom. Keepers will try to prevent these behaviours occurring through enrichment, the way they present the jaguar's diet, and expanding the enclosures to bigger sizes. Herbivores such as the zebras live in widespread areas of treeless grasslands and savanna woodlands in southern Africa. Zebras are social animals who congregate in herds of up to 1,000 individuals. They live in family groups of between 5 and 20 individuals that consist of one stallion, a few mares, and their young ones. These basic family groups stay together even when they do congregate into larger herds. When zebras live in captivity, it is important to recreate their natural habitat and diet as close as the zoos can, having enough space for a herd of zebras within one enclosure, enough food to feed the herd as they can eat up to 18 hours a day, and if the zebra's needs are not met, this can lead to uncharacteristic behaviours such as stress, boredom, and loneliness. Meerkats being omnivores can show a mix of behaviours such as aggression when they are scared or bored, and are prone to over-grooming or scratching due to injury or medical issues. At Camperdown Zoo, the meerkats are checked daily to see if over-grooming is observed. Hand rearing can affect an animal's health For example, in some cases, hand-reared animals may be rejected by their parental figure, which may lead to keepers having to take care of the animal until they can fend for themselves. Hand-rearing also familiarises the animal to humans, which could cause issues if they are reintroduced into the wild, for example, putting them at risk of being hunted. If a keeper is inexperienced when feeding the meerkats, this could cause health issues such as if a hand-reared meerkat is kept with other meerkats who depend on the alphas. The hand-reared meerkat may teach this behaviour to the others in the mob, and that may be undesirable. For example, such behaviours could be anticipating food or being overly comfortable around humans, and that could be dangerous to the mob to prevent undesirable behaviours. Uncharacteristic behaviours can manifest due to many different reasons. Each animal kept in captivity can go through different backgrounds and experiences, causing a variety of emotion and feelings. Some of the main reasons of uncharacteristic behaviours occur from stress or frustration, physical and mental deterioration, diseases, and chronic aversive stimuli. With animals kept in captivity, it is important to keep them both mentally and physically positive. This can be achieved in a variety of ways while still meeting the animal's requirements. For example, mimicking habits in their climates and their enclosures, from heat lamps to ponds, trees and bushes and humidifiers. That their enclosures have enough space for multiple animals and space for them to roam and explore. Their diets are replicated to the best of their ability, such as the actual food, the times the animals get fed, and the frequency of the feeding. The feeding strategies to enhance natural hunting behaviours, for example, bulk feeds, scatter feeds, filter feeding, and scavenging. Enrichment activities can be added to promote stimuli and wild behaviours, from feeding, movement, mental, and problem solving. That the shelter is provided, so there is an area for protection and safety. And lastly, that veterinary care is provided, that medical checkups, medical attention if needed, and that their records are being kept up to date. While at Camperdown Zoo, I would take weekly ethograms to observe the meerkats' behaviours and how they would change depending on the time of the day, the weather, and if they were being fed. During my time at Camperdown Zoo, each week I would record a welfare sheet to see if each week would produce a different answer. In my welfare sheets, I would look at the enclosure size and their conditions, if the meerkats were getting enough enrichment to stimulate their natural behaviours, if they had shelter for protection when they felt frightened, their diet requirements, and lastly, if they were receiving medical care if needed. For my enrichment, I decided to use pumpkins filled with insects as my project. The reasoning behind choosing pumpkins was it would be a good opportunity to promote natural behaviours for the meerkats, such as digging, their curiosity, working for their food, problem solving, and it helps to stimulate their senses. The meerkats will have increased behaviours such as eating, digging, and calls once the pumpkin enrichment goes inside their enclosure. At the same time, behaviours including public interaction and sleeping should decrease. My strategy for this enrichment was to work following a time frame, as pumpkins are available for only a short period of time on the build up to Halloween. Once I had the pumpkin, I then carved out a design for the meerkats to try put their paws inside and grab insects. I also cut out the lid so the meerkats could climb inside from the top. Once the pumpkins were ready, I then filled it in with mealworms and live locusts with the help of the staff at Camperdown and put it inside their enclosure. Once the enrichment was placed inside the meerkat's enclosure, I recorded all the behaviours I could see through an ethogram. There were a lot of feeding behaviours such as eating, foraging, digging and scavenging observed. There was also no sentry, which is unusual as in the wild there would always be one meerkat on lookout. This would be classed as an uncharacteristic behaviour. One behaviour I didn't think would be so prominent was aggression. The meerkats didn't want to share any of the pumpkins with each other. This was possibly due to the pumpkins being too close together inside the enclosure.
picture from the front of the table, I think.
Yeah. We got pictures of them before.
Bradley better give me credit for the Halloween post.
Oh, he better. Oh my god. Lucy flipped in the hot water.
The enrichment was very effective in all the areas I wanted it to be. It stimulated the meerkat's senses and made them problem solve and work for their food, whilst also promoting their wild behaviours. I am happy with my planning for the enrichment. I followed my timeline and had all the correct resources, which made it very successful. If I were to do this enrichment project again, the only thing I would do differently is spread the pumpkins out around the enclosure so every meerkat could have a look and interact with the prevention of any of aggression. It was found there was an increase in the meerkat's behaviours such as digging, with 19.5 average occurrences before the enrichment and 27 after enrichment. Calls with 15.5 average occurrences before enrichment and 34.5 average occurrences after enrichment, and playing when the enrichment was added into the enclosure with 2.5 average occurrences before enrichment and 4 after enrichment. Surprisingly, public interaction increased with 5 average occurrences before enrichment and 6.5 after enrichment. It was also found there was a decrease in behaviours such as eating, with 5.5 average occurrences before enrichment was added and 5 average occurrences afterwards. No decrease happened with the sleeping as predicted in my hypothesis, with 0 average occurrences before the enrichment and 0 average occurrences after.